What is going on, guys? So I have a pretty big projection for Tesla and Elon and what I kind of see that's going to happen basically from now and into the coming years. And that is that Tesla is set up to be at bat to, let's say, hit a home run. But it's not going to be one singular home run. It's going to be, more of that hit after hit after hit. Everybody's grabbing a base. I'm using baseball as a reference here. Everybody's grabbing a base. Every single batter that comes up, you getting the base, getting the base, getting the base, right? And um, and it gives some like premise on that before I get to that. Actually, I'm Malachi Grubb, CEO of Elite Automation, Elite Properties, and an investor in Tesla. Can't leave that part out for those of you guys who are new here. If you are new here and you enjoy this channel, subscribe. But I'm really foreseeing that Tesla is setting themselves up to not allow the stock price to go down too significantly. I think that over the course of the past like 6 months to maybe a year, but at least the last 6 months, 9 months, Tesla has really been allowing its stock price to just kind of plummet. They don't care what it is. Like, they just basically sandbagging the company, not really releasing any like super good information. If they do release information, it's like kind of a little bit of a tidbit, but nothing like major to like push things forward. Like, one of the most major things that we have gotten over these months is the launch of like Robotaxi. But even with the launch of Robotaxi, it's like we launched it, and then we're not going to give you anything else information-wise. We're not going to give you any future updates. We're not going to give you any future projections. They did the delivery of the autonomous delivery, in Austin. So from the factory to a new owner of a Tesla vehicle, they executed on that, right? However, they did not follow up on it, meaning no future things. Like, when are we going to start seeing autonomous deliveries? When is a projection for, autonomous deliveries? At least some type of projection will be there in a year or two. We'll be there in 6 months. We'll be there in 3 months, right? And it's even plausible that at this current time, they can already do the autonomous deliveries. They might already have everything they need in place to do autonomous deliveries. However, I think they're not. Right? This is just one prime example, and I'm going to use it as an example that why I think that like they've been sandbagging over time, and they could have went ahead and did things like launch deliveries directly to customers autonomously, but they haven't. And again, the reason why they haven't is because they're sandbagging, and not just sandbagging to keep the stock price down right now, but sandbagging so that they have information to release as they go forward. So now that we have some insight on Elon's pay package, and something's been, kind of mapped out and aligned, so that way we all have something that we can see and that we can vote for as shareholders. So if you don't already know, shareholders can vote for things like Elon Musk's pay package. If you don't know much about the pay package, if you haven't really been following Tesla that much, basically this pay package is like a pay package that is paying Elon extremely well. However, it is tied directly to metrics of Tesla and its growth. For example, I think at the end of all these payouts and everything like that, Tesla has to be like an $8 trillion company, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like 8x from where it currently sits at today. I have to look. My memory's not great. I have to look at data on a daily basis. That's why I like operate off spreadsheets. Also helps you not operate emotionally as well. But so this pay package is now in place, and once it gets voted for, now Elon is locked in that if Tesla does X, Elon makes X, right? And so there's different tiers. I'll just break these tiers down in like the most simplest way. I'm just keeping this very generic, but you have, at $1 trillion, $2 trillion, $3 trillion, $4 trillion, $5 trillion, and so forth to $8 trillion, that Elon basically gets paid out. I'm just giving this as an example's sake, okay? And it is somewhat actually roughly like this. But with those type of pay tiers, Elon is then he's locked in for those pay tiers meaning now he has incentive to hit those tiers. Prior to the signing and the vote confirmation of those tiers, Elon really doesn't care about hitting those tiers. Why would he care? He has no financial incentive to hit those tiers. And one thing that is definitely different about Tesla versus any other company. Sorry, I'll put this out the way. Definitely different about any other company is Elon has the ability to sway that entire company like no other company in the world. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like as a CEO, a lot of CEOs only have a certain amount of power. And then the board has a certain amount of power. But it appears that Elon has a significant amount of power. And I'm not just talking about voting shares. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not talking about equity in the company. That's a whole nother thing. It can influence, some of his power, but I think it's just the way that he operates, right? He don't ask questions, and he just goes in and does things, right? He doesn't go to the board and say, "Hey, board, can I do this? Can we do that? What do you guys think about doing that?" He just like goes in, he executes, he does the thing, and then if the board doesn't like it, he probably doesn't care. That's probably just the way that he has to operate. And I'm bringing this up partially because Tesla as a company spent ad money on Elon, getting his pay package, which is very strange. It's very, very strange. And in my opinion, that's Elon actually pressing and saying, "Hey, Tesla, you need to do this. Like, if you want me," and maybe saying, "Hey, if you guys don't give me this pay package, I'm gone. I'm gonna go do something else. I'm gonna go focus on my other six companies that I own or whatever." And y'all can just figure it out from here. I mean, he probably doesn't want that, but he's also probably like, I can do this or do that and spend my time doing whatever things, right? And so the board of Tesla and the investors of Tesla definitely don't want to lose Elon because, Tesla losing an Elon would devastate the company. I mean, it would probably go down to multi-hundred. We would lose definitely our PE ratio, aka the value that the company's trading at based on like the revenue that it's doing. So if you don't know about PE ratios, basically it's like what is the current stock price of that company, the valuation of that company to what its revenues are. And without Elon, that company or Tesla will trade much lower at like, I'm not gonna say around the automotive company PE ratios, but it'll trade around, some of your other Facebooks, Amazons, much lower than what it is right now, which would significantly impact the stock price by cutting it almost in half. So that's why like investors and board members and stuff like that don't want to see Elon go. Now we're going back into Elon. So first of all, that was to really point out that Elon has that much power and influence within Tesla. Okay. And his importance at Tesla. Now, if Elon gets his pay package, he will be ultra dedicated to accomplishing these tasks, right? And it's better for Elon to get this pay package and then accomplish the tasks versus already accomplish some of the tasks and then get the pay package. One is negotiation leverage. Like, hey, if I step away, like, you're not going to have this stock momentum, right? And this is a big part of what this really video is about, is the stock momentum, is the momentum of the company on a stock price basis, but also on a technological basis and overall just PR type of basis, right? The perception of that of Tesla to the public. And so again, it looks so much better for Elon to lock in his pay package, get that vote, get it signed off on, and then accomplish the things, which is why Elon is sandbagging. And I don't really like to be the type of investor to like say Elon this, Elon that. I don't, because Elon is not the only person operating that company. There are a ton of other great people operating that company, and Tesla wouldn't be where it's at if it wasn't for the other employees of Tesla. But as a leader, and Elon's ability to sway, like no other CEO can go in there and just make decisions and make changes to the autonomous vehicle team, the humanoid robot team. Just goes in and immediately, boom, this is what we're going to do instead. We're not doing that, right? his ability to do that, and for Tesla to try to find somebody else to put into his place to be able to kind of just go in and navigate that same way, just won't happen, right? So now, I think Tesla's in agreement with this, but Elon is also wanting to make sure that they get that pay package locked in and signed. That's the mile marker in the road. After that, I think the next objective is to continually grow Tesla in a way where they do not allow for the stock to dip down in price. And this comes into like the next part of the video. So really kind of everything was the build up to this. Tesla is going to now release information that then increases the stock price. So there's a couple of things that we can see here. We can see potentially doing autonomous deliveries to customers, which is going to save the company a lot of money, and it's just PR-wise, it's going to be very impressive. You're going to have you're going to have Robotaxi expansions. Now, I'm not sure if this one is a chicken or egg thing, but you have version 14 being released. So version 14 might be just a part of that that's been kind of being held off so that, again, we get that pay package signed. Or there could be an actual technological bottleneck. But that scenario could play out two different ways. One, a technological bottleneck as it's just not been ready. And then the other one where, like, maybe it's been ready. Like, they could have deployed it 2 months ago, but they just, like, kept refining it. Just don't release it to the public. We'll hold it. We'll keep it internally. We'll keep testing it. Maybe they're running it in Robotaxi in California. For all we know, they've been running it in Robotaxi California for 2-3 months. There's a plausibility. We have no information on that. That information is wrapped, like, super tight. I'm sure the NDAs that these people are signing, just as vehicle operators, are probably ridiculous. I mean, like Tesla has the ability to like sue them for like millions and millions of dollars, just in the case that they release information about what's going on with Robotaxi, current software versions, and they might even have those technologically hidden where somebody like a vehicle operator can't see like what version that software is running, just so it can be hidden, right? Because if you're not a developer and you're not one of the 12 people working on Robotaxi, then you don't need to know what software version we're on, right? They could either plug in a false number or they could just hide that screen completely, which is not hard to do if you know anything about like automation and computer development and UIs and stuff like that. It's not hard to turn off a screen at all. It's like literally like a button click. So another thing is version 14 is going to be a catalyst, whether it was intentionally held and or technologically held up. Version 14 is going to be the version that is required to allow Robotaxi to operate without individuals in the vehicle whatsoever. Whether they do that or not is another story. I think that Tesla will probably spend the next year with safety riders. I think that they will hire mass amounts of people, and they will have these safety riders in the car for maybe the next year or so. But I think they'll also expand the number of vehicles. I think there'll be riders as the passenger. And again, some of my thoughts on these things develop. So like, stay tuned on like upcoming videos, because as new information releases, these projections will change. Because like, let's say for instance, if we get new safety data that says how much safer it is than a human, or how many miles until intervention, that might change on like whether or not they like remove the safety rider. But however, I think that they're not going to remove it just as that fail safe, right? Just as that extra measure of precaution, and even plausibly as a liability sake. Tesla could say like, well, we hired the safety rider. The safety rider was supposed to do their job and they didn't do it. And so they kind of like can like put some of the liability on the human that's in the car. I don't know how much they would do that. They might just do it as like a PR stunt. They're like, oh, this person should have done that, and they didn't. Kind of like the same way, like if somebody crashes in FSD right now, they're like, oh, well, it's supposed to be supervised. Like, why were you not supervising the vehicle? that type of scenario where they can reduce liability on a, like a legal standpoint and maybe a PR type of standpoint. Because like how can you argue something like that? So I think that's a big reason why they'll hold off on doing that. And on top of that, we're talking about the grand scheme of things, right? When you're somebody that's a billionaire and super long term investor, you're not really worried about what's happening in like 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. Even you're looking at like what's going to happen over 10 years. That's their objective. What's happening over 10 years, and And so, like, I don't think, again, they're not worried about the safety riders. I think they will be extremely focused on expansion, and we already have the commitment that they're supposed to be servicing half the population by end of year. Again, version 14 is going to have to be in place for that to occur. But going back to, I want to kind of go back to the main purpose of this video. This is where really the at-bats are there, where Tesla's going to continue to like lay up more and more information. We have potentially a new model vehicle that's about to be released. We just had great delivery numbers. Q4 is probably also about to have great vehicle delivery numbers. We have other potential vehicles that are not being released to us, right? There might be hidden vehicles that we don't know anything about. We know that there's the Cybercab. We haven't heard hardly anything about that. That's one of those things. I think they're just keeping it under the rug. They're not letting anybody know that how close they are into production of that vehicle. So that way, it's a catalyst. They're sandbagging and holding out and like trying to make it like secretive. We don't want nobody to know where we're at with things and all that. But I think this is part of that kind of like PR agenda, that stock catalyst agenda, right? Because a lot of times when it comes to like stock catalysts, it's really about like the information that comes out, its impact on revenue, its technological impact, and kind of like how that transforms the future. But then most importantly, with that is in the way you release that information and in the cadence at which you release that information, right? Example, if you don't want a stock to move up and you prefer it to stay stagnant and go down, don't release any information. If you do release information, make it very negligible, make it just not great. Don't even be excited about the information. Yeah, we're going to release a couple vehicles. Yeah, we're going to have a couple robotaxis on the road. And so something like the number of robotaxis on the road could literally be another one of those sandbagging factors. They could have the ability to expand the existing robotaxis on the road today. They're just choosing not to because that looks good, right? Expanding robotaxi looks good, and we're holding off. Now we're going to inject catalysts into the market when we feel like it. We're going to expand into a new city when we feel like it. And also on top of that, doing it slow. I'll give you another example. I'm going to use past history as some examples. When we launched Austin, what happened? We launched in like a small area. I don't have the data with me at the moment, but we launched, and then we expanded within a few weeks, and then we expanded within a few more weeks, and I think we expanded a fourth time in a few weeks, and then we launched in San Francisco a few weeks later. You know what I mean? So like that was kind of that trickling effect of like we're releasing, but the vehicle numbers that we're releasing are really low. We're not releasing a high amount of them. So like again, we're pulling back. But again, talking about a cadence. Okay, so let's say we go Houston, Texas. Let's say we go LA. Let's say we go blah, 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 whatever city. We can have this cadence so indefinitely. Indefinitely meaning we can stretch this out and have whatever increments of cadence we want to have. Meaning, I can say LA, small little geograph. I can also say Chicago, small little geograph. I can then the next week say expand LA. I can then say the week after that, expand in Chicago. I can then say after that, open up in Miami. I can then say expand in California. I can then say, you know what I mean? Open up in San Jose, Texas, or something like that. I could then say open up in New York. I could then say expand in New York. I can then say expand in San Jose or something like that, right? And so all these technological, or it's not real technological, all these advancements in like Robotaxi on their own are like little small catalysts that are like firing. Think about like pistons inside of a gas engine where it's like, right? You got to get the engine running. How do you get that engine running? Boom, let those little sparks go off. Let those little catalysts go off. And those catalysts are what kind of keep ticking the stock up, ticking the stock up. The stock price went down today. Let's feed them a little bit of something, right? Let's give them some information. Boom. Perfect example. Perfect example. We have some insight that the low cost vehicle is going to be coming out. Well, it's already been told to us that it's supposed to be out by the end of this year. It's actually delayed. It's probably delayed due to the tax credit. But the other little trickle that just happened is they invited some Tesla influencers to the Gigafactory to show them something. We don't know what yet, but to show them something. Why? That's a big deal to like bring in other Tesla influencers and show them a thing, right? Whatever that thing is has to be a pretty big deal, or else the company would not be wasting their time on bringing them in and showing them something or whatever, right? So that itself, just the cue that they brought in some Tesla influencers, like, oh, something big's coming, right? It's like kind of creates that buzz, like, oh, what is it? You know, now there's going to be news. I bet you if I looked up right now how much news is posted up, I bet you there's at least 10 to 100 like X posts across all platforms. I mean, probably way more than that. Probably thousands of posts, just like creating a little bit of buzz about like how these influencers are getting inside information. I'll kind of say like, you know, on what the future's going on, and then what's going to happen over the next like few days or a week. They're going to be able to present whatever this new thing is. They're going to get their hands on it. Oh, I get to be the first person to ride in the new, you know, Model Y affordable model, right? Whatever it may be. It may not even be anything that we're thinking of. I do think that's one of them. I think we have enough, you know, information to say that it is probably the low-cost Model Y, but there could be other things too. They could have other things in the chamber that we're not even expecting yet, which would be really exciting. Again, Robotaxi, or Cybercab or whatever, they haven't even gave us any new update on the Cybercab and where they're at in production with that. They could be a plausibility boom. They could release that. Now, again, do they release all these in one go, or do they kind of give us that staggered thing? Maybe the Robovan is getting actually closer to manufacturing. Maybe they have like a manufacturing level prototype ready to go. So, you know, that way it's just a matter of like putting it into production, or getting like all the automated systems and everything, you know, geared up, and the manufacturing equipment geared up to be ready to manufacture the Robovan or whatever, which is their big like bus van or whatever. By the way, I should really talk a lot more on manufacturing, being that I spent my entire career in manufacturing and automation and robotics, and kind of just talk about some of the impacts on that. Interesting. But yeah, they're going to roll out these catalysts in a way where they're in control of the narrative, right? And there is some bit of it that is like kind of just delaying time. I think version 14 was a huge delayment of time, meaning they needed version 14 to make Robotaxi not need operators in the vehicle. And especially if you're going to say, like, if you're going to say Robotaxi is safe enough in like Austin, Texas, that is probably due to the manual training and coding that they had to put into Austin, Texas to make it functional over there. So if they want like a scalable, and so before I go on, and I mentioned this in other videos, version 13, the way I look at it is comparable to Waymo in the sense of they have to do a lot more manual things to scale it, right? They have to go in, like we're talking about like Chicago, they have to go in and spend months getting Chicago ready, editing this, editing that, manual training, blah, blah, blah things, you know what I mean? Whereas like version 14 is way less. And again, go back and watch some other videos. I've went deep detail on this. But basically they don't have to They only have to train for like a week or two on version 14, which gives them the ability to scale, which is Tesla's big Robotaxi selling point, is that Tesla can flip a switch and scale overnight. Now, for us to have like true scalability where it takes them like, under a month or something like that, it might be version 15. Maybe version 14 gets them to 1 month of operation time, which is still fine for the major cities. Like, that's not even a big deal at all. Even if it takes them 3 months for major cities, that's not a big deal. And for and being able to target like mass population, because over 50% of our populations reside in like the 10 biggest cities, 20 biggest cities. Is like over 50% of our population is in the 10 biggest cities. The challenge is how do you cover that latter 50% or 40% or whatever it is of America and of the world, right? After you get past all your major cities of America, of the world, how do you target those much smaller cities? Even a city like mine, like Evansville, Indiana, at like a population of 300,000, you have to be able to service a bunch of cities like mine, because we have 300,000 people, and those 300,000s add up. We're like the third biggest city in Indiana. I think Fort Wayne is second, and Indianapolis is number one. But yeah, they have to have like a version of software that can do that. But point being is, that's like a technological hurdle that I think that they have to overcome. But they're trying to. Their plan is to release the information, and primary purpose of this video, Tesla is planning to release this information in a way that keeps Tesla stimulated. Tesla is not going to fall down much from where it's currently at unless Elon doesn't get his pay package signed in. If he doesn't get his pay package signed in, I don't even know where Tesla could go. You better short the stock. I would never tell somebody to short Tesla stock, but if his pay package gets denied, it might be the time to short Tesla stock. If you're ever going to short Tesla. Again, I don't advise it, but once that pay package is locked in, I foresee some major information getting released. Again, they're gonna be cautious on it. They're still gonna trickle things out, because if they put everything all on the table in one day, like let's say for instance, Tesla unveiled everything that they have going on for like the next 3 years. The stock would probably shoot up today 20%, 30%, 40%. And then guess what? Tomorrow, the next day, the following days, it'll start declining and coming right back down to the price we're currently sitting at today. Or some example of that, right? It might come back halfway. It might go up there and stay. But then what? Then what's the next catalyst? There is no catalyst. You've laid all your cards on the table, and now you just have to execute on what you said you're going to do. Now the only thing that's really going to impact your stock price is actual revenue generation. You already have all the cool bells and whistles on the table. Revenue generation at that point is the only thing that freaking matters. So again, each little thing has to be released to the information, or released to the public in small bits of information that keeps people excited, that keeps people wanting to know and update on whatever the new thing is. If like, let's say for instance, if tomorrow Tesla had the ability to turn on the entire city of Chicago, let's say the entire United States, boom, they could turn it on overnight. They shouldn't do that, and they won't do that, because they got to stretch out these catalysts. They got to stretch them out. So they'll start in a little small area in Chicago, and they'll expand a little bit bigger, and then until it took them 3 months to do all of Chicago, right? And I think there's going to be some major expansion, and I might be speaking in a way that this is like slower than what's about to happen, because I do think that Tesla is going to get very close to hitting the 50% of population served by end of year. My one caveat against it is I think they might do it with a very minimal number of vehicles. So like they have the ability to service, again, using very lightly, this is where my skepticism is, that Tesla will have vehicles in the areas where half the population is, but not necessarily enough volume of vehicles for Tesla to be able to actually truly service every person in demand of a robotaxi. I'm ending it right here. We're 30 minutes deep exactly in this video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed. Hopefully this information is valuable to you. Make sure to check out one of these other videos right here somewhere. If you want to learn more about Tesla and kind of some of my theses, I did another video on version 14 and its 10x parameters and why that's going to be so different. That's kind of a good one, but it's very technologically deep, kind of taking in some of my automation robotics experience and kind of explaining some of nuances of that, but how it could have a big impact on like the the future of robotaxis, future capabilities. So yeah, again, thanks again, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.